Hello, you've caught us rehearsing, you star maker. Yes, you, the viewers at home, get a chance to vote for who you'd like to see on your screens again when Bob says opportunity knocks for 6 talented young acts. They're all new to network TV, but I'll explain more about it when I see you in a couple of hours or so on Bob Says Opportunity Knocks. That's at 7:45, BBC One. Be with us. That's when your opportunity comes to vote. Excuse me now.
And in 15 minutes, Balky meets a perfect stranger and falls in love. And that's after the news on BBC One with Jan Leeming at 5:05.
Mrs. Thatcher attacks the half-hearted, half-baked socialists of the Alliance. The dynamite ship is towed away from Britain. And the boy doctors said would never walk steps out to raise funds for others. The Prime Minister has continued Conservative attacks on the Alliance in her keynote speech to the Tories' Central Council in Torquay. She dismissed the Labour Party as a band of hostile zealots, then lashed out at the leaders of the Alliance as the two halves of a pantomime horse.
Conservative activists are walking with a light step. They believe their election prospects are sunny, but Mrs. Thatcher, like 7 ministers earlier, warned them of a cloud on the horizon, the Alliance. Tory strategists now see the Liberals and the SDP as their biggest threat. If they attract Conservative supporters, they could let in the old enemy, Labour, with whom voters were already disenchanted, according to Mrs. Thatcher.
Labour's opposition is predictable enough. It's declined from a great party to a band of zealots, which is instinctively hostile to the hopes and dreams of ordinary people. And what of the Labour Party in exile? By which, of course, I mean the Liberals and the SDP. This week, once again, Labour, Liberal and SDP have united against income tax cuts for factory workers, teachers, policemen and nurses, among others. And don't forget, many, many pensioners pay income tax too. They like to see cuts in income tax. The message of all this is clear. There are 3 types of socialism on offer: the full-blooded Labour variety, the half-hearted Social Democrat variety, and the half-baked Liberal variety.
Mrs. Thatcher offered instead a 3rd term of her familiar policies and her familiar style. The converted were uplifted. Their belief that their biggest election asset is Mrs. Thatcher herself appeared to be rock solid.
The Liberal leader, David Steel, has hit back at the Conservative Party chairman Norman Tebbit after his comments yesterday about the Liberals' pact with the last Labour government. Mr. Steel described Mr. Tebbit as a puppet master of black propaganda and accused him of trying to rewrite history. Mr. Tebbit had said the Liberals kept Labour in office with the Lib-Lab pact until it collapsed in the winter of discontent. In South Africa, the government's Bureau for Information says 60 people have been arrested after disturbances in black townships around Durban. The news comes on the day black South Africans remember 2 events: the Sharpeville massacre of 1960, when 69 blacks were killed by police, and police shootings in the Langa township near Uitenhage 2 years ago, when 20 black people died. Desmond Tutu, the South African Anglican Archbishop, is seeing members of the banned African National Congress in Zambia. It's his first official meeting with the ANC, and he's expected to discuss South Africa's whites-only elections being held in May. In France, demonstrators have caused more than £50,000 worth of damage to the South African embassy in Paris. They stormed the building in a protest against a 4-year jail sentence given to French university lecturer Pierre-André Albertini. He'd refused to give evidence against 5 blacks charged with terrorist offences. The bodies of 3 women believed to be victims of the Townsend-Torresen ferry disaster have been found on a Dutch beach. They were washed up at Zouteland, 10 miles from Zeebrugge, where the Herald of Free Enterprise capsized 2 weeks ago. The dynamite-laden freighter Hornestrand, abandoned off the Cornish coast almost 3 weeks ago, is under tow tonight and on her way to the continent. The fires in her hold are out, and her 400-ton cargo is said to be in good condition.
For nearly 3 weeks, the Horner Strand lay at anchor off the Cornish coast, brought there after a fire broke out amongst her deadly cargo of explosives. Yesterday, safety experts gave the formal confirmation that that fire is out. And to many people's surprise, at 3 o'clock this morning, Horner Strand began her journey to a North European port under Salva's tow.
In order to bring the Horn Strand into a British port, it would require an import licence for the cargo issued by the Health and Safety Executive, and no such application has yet been made.
Why not?
The Salvas didn't wish to make one.
The Dutch salvage company Weissmuller is understood to have been considering taking Horner Strand to Europe for some while. The longer the saga went on, the more the salvage operation was likely to cost them. But one thing is now certain, Horner Strand won't be returning to Cornwall, and that, for many local people, has come as a great relief.
Ireland's main opposition party, Fine Gael, has elected a new leader to succeed former Premier Dr Garret FitzGerald, who retired to the backbenches last week. Alan Dukes, an economist and former finance minister, was elected at a vote by Fine Gael's parliamentary group in Dublin. He defeated the party's former deputy leader, Peter Barry, although actual voting figures weren't disclosed. Dr FitzGerald stepped down after losing the general election to the Fianna Fáil party, headed by Charles Haughey. About 50 people have taken part in a peaceful demonstration outside Tottenham Police Station in North London to protest about the outcome of the PC Blakelock murder trial. The Broadwater Farm Defence Committee say they're outraged and disgusted at the conviction of 3 men for the policeman's murder. They say the evidence was inadequate and they object to the way the police carried out their inquiry. An 8-year-old boy who was so severely handicapped that doctors gave him no hope of improvement has been leading a 7-mile charity walk today. Doran Scottson is now helping raise money for other handicapped children.
It's hard to believe that just a few years ago, doctors said Doran would never be able to walk. He was paralysed, deaf and almost blind. His dramatic progress began when his mother took him to a special clinic in Philadelphia. Doran was given a programme of almost constant stimulation and strenuous physical exercise, up to 12 hours of crawling, climbing, walking and running every day. The idea, to stimulate the healthy parts of his brain to make up for those destroyed by cerebral palsy. Now the treatment's down to 3 hours a day.
He's become gradually more and more like a normal child. His balance, his vision, his speech, everything have changed and come together. And from what seemed an impossible disability, I've got a normal, lively, excited little boy.
Today, Doran set the pace for a sponsored walk to try to raise £10,000 for the Kurland Institute, a charity set up to help children in Britain using the techniques pioneered in the United States. They've already witnessed some remarkable achievements.
Those that weren't walking when I first saw them 12 months ago run across the car park outside my office window. That brings a tear to your eye, I hasten to add. Many advances. Children that couldn't talk now talk. Children that had severe sight problems can now see. The list is endless.
This afternoon, Doran completed his 7-mile walk and said he hoped he could help other children.
And that's all for now. Our main news tonight is on BBC1 at 9:25.
Good afternoon to you. We're seeing quite a lot of heavy showers across the country once again today, but at least they're organised into fairly discrete bands. At the moment, there's one band running through southeastern parts of the country with some sleet and snow mixed in that one. Another rather heavy band running up through the Irish Sea into central and eastern parts of Scotland, and there's some quite hefty snow showers around with some hail and thunder quite likely, but many of those will be clearing away as we go through the evening. 1 or 2 fog patches probably turning up where you've had some late evening showers down in eastern parts of England. Another band of hail and snow showers though coming into the far northwest, I fancy, around about dawn time, and temperatures holding up in the west, but in central and eastern parts you will get a touch of frost, perhaps down to -4 degrees in some central parts of Scotland. And then tomorrow, a fairly bright start to the day. Most regions probably seeing some sunshine to begin the day, but you'll find this hefty band of showers running northeastwards across northern parts of Britain as we go through the day, with some more sunshine following along behind. Further south, a rather patchy cloud, a few showers around, but more general rain reaching the far southwest later on.
Highlights and bright lights for Saturday evening here on BBC1, coming suddenly to Larry at 5:20 in a flash.
Got new batteries? What more do you want?
For the Deer family in Jim will fix it at 5:45, Reading's their Dream Denver, and the number 20 bus their Dynasty, with Sid and Eddie making up a Lexus.
Blake, who is this drunken woman, Blake?
Zoo vet Donald Turner earns his stripes in 1 by 1 at 6:55 when the Tigers are taken ill at Manford Park.
And join me at 7:45 when Bob says opportunity knocks. You'll be amazed at what you can discover.
And it's Knock Knock at 8:35.
Guess who?
In Cagney and Lacey at 9:40, Christine discovers romance and police work just don't mix.
The man tried to kill me, you understand? I guess you can't. Until somebody aims a gun and pulls a round off at your head, you never will.
More drama in The Houseman's Tale at 10:30, a young doctor warding off disaster.
Listen, Paula, just a one, come on, just a one.
And with international snooker at 11:45, there are 10 good reasons to spend Saturday evening with us here on BBC One.
Now, Midlands Sport with Alan Towers.
Hello. Well, another bleak day for Aston Villa, I'm afraid. They're hammered out of sight at Southampton. Derby County get a point at Hull and they stay top of Division 2. Problems mount for both Birmingham and for West Brom. Well, Villa were a goal down after just 55 seconds at the Dell, where they crashed 5-0 to Southampton. After Hobson's goal, Cockrell made it 2-0 in the 4th minute. Colin Clark got 2 more, with Gary Wallace completing a disastrous day. A nightmare for goalkeeper Nigel Spink, with Villa looking like a side that's already given up the fight to stay in the First Division. And I'm just hearing that Aston Villa reserves were beaten 5-0 at Manchester United. Not a day for Villa. Well, Derby County are still notching up the promotion points. Today's trip to Hull ended in a 1-1 draw, but the home side gave County a difficult time in spite of their lowly position. Andy Saville gave Hull the lead after earlier missing a penalty, but Rod Hindmarsh pounced for his first goal of the season with a first-half equaliser. County on the defensive, though, for long periods. Well, after their 6-0 thrashing at Crystal Palace last week, Birmingham were hoping for better things against promotion-chasing Portsmouth at St Andrews, but it didn't turn out that way, as Steve Lee reports.
Portsmouth take another measured step towards the First Division, while Birmingham City are left to contemplate a season that's now gone decidedly flat. Today, Blues were always second best to a Pompey side playing with control and confidence. After 35 minutes, the only goal, Kevin Dillon, formerly a player here at St Andrews, crossed perfectly for Vince Hilaire to score with a stooping header. Blues fought back, with Steve Whitten and new boy Mark North both going close. But the longer this game went on, the more Pompey dictated the pace. Ian Handisides proved an effective substitute for Birmingham and twice nearly brought them an equaliser. But this was always going to be Pompey's afternoon. The attendance at 9,823. The score, Birmingham City 0, Portsmouth 1.
Well, Stoke City drew 2-2 at Huddersfield, but had to come back from being a couple of goals down. Shearer and Cork fired Town into what looked like a comfortable lead, but Stoke got back into it with Tony Ford's goal in the 66th minute. Huddersfield twice went close to increasing their lead, but Stoke's determination paid off, and 3 minutes from time, Brian Talbot cracked in the equaliser. A poor performance from West Bromwich Albion today, who went down 1-0 at home to Blackburn. Paul Dyson's mistake led to the corner which brought Rovers' goal. After 70 minutes, Colin Hendry was the scorer. Albion quite simply failed to put their game together today. It looks like third division football at Gay Meadow next season. Shrewsbury made sweeping changes for the game against Millwall, but are still without a win in their last 9 games. David Geddes headed a fine goal midway through the second half for the home side. Mamet and Sherrington scored for Millwall. 2 players sent off and 6 booked in Port Vale's stormy 2-2 draw with Chesterfield. Vale's centre-half Bob Hazel was ordered off in the second half, and a minute from time the visitors' Bob Bloomer was sent off. Vale's goals came from John Bowden and skipper Phil Sprosson. Chesterfield's Dave Caulfield scored both his team's goals. Both Wolves and Tranmere had a player sent off in the first half of this game. Wolves defender Nicky Clark was given his marching orders after 17 minutes. 2 minutes before the break, Tranmere lost winger John Morrissey. Wolves' new signing from Albion, Dennison, scored the all-important goal in the second half. Let's take a look at the Vauxhall Conference results. Boston 1, Cheltenham 1. Maidstone 3, Kettering 0. Northwich 1, Nuneaton 2. Scarborough 2, Kidderminster 1. Stafford Rangers 1, Wealdstone 0. Telford 0, Barnet 1. Rugby, John Smith merit table. Gloucester 31, Orrell 3. Harlequins 15, Coventry 12. London Scottish 15, Nottingham 30. Birmingham 10, Fylde 42. The club match results: Moseley 32, Richmond 3. Northampton 36, Sale 9. Nuneaton 9, Sheffield 19. Rugby 38, Huddersfield 0. Now look at the news in the Midlands today. British Gas has announced the closure of its research station in Solihull, where 450 people are employed. Union leaders say they'll fight the close down. The Animal Liberation Front is believed to have been responsible for damage caused to a wholesale meat market in Stoke-on-Trent. And 4 raiders armed with a shotgun who stole £3,000 from a Birmingham sub-post office have escaped the police by jumping onto a passing coal train at Saltley. And if you are a Coventry City supporter, and what a team in the news at the moment, you will be disappointed to hear that Brian Kilcline, who was injured in the game against Oxford United last night, will miss the game at Wimbledon on Tuesday. He will, however, I'm sure, be fit for that all-important semi-final 3 weeks from now. That's it from me. Goodbye.
A dip in a Roman bath and the chance to play James Bond are just 2 of the fix-its Jimmy Savile will be arranging in 25 minutes here on BBC1. And that's after Balky loses his heart to a perfect stranger.